I'm not surprised one little bit. Anyway, moving on to a story we talked about last night, which was Brazil trying to tell you what you can and cannot read, on Twitter, which is, of course, now called X. The intervention of not only by the government in Brazil, but by the judiciary as well to restrict Twitter accounts so people in Brazil cannot read this content. Now, we weren't able to reveal to you last night who was supposedly going to be banned from posting on Twitter. And of course, Twitter is now challenging this edict. We can now tell you that it is sitting politicians and journalists that the government in Brazil has been trying to censor. Elon Musk, very much to his credit, is standing up against this. Here is him explaining what was asked of them and why he's not going to take it lying down.
The final straw is we were being given demands to suspend sitting members of the parliament and major journalists. And moreover, we could not tell them that this was at the behest of Alexander Morales. We had to pretend that it was due to our rules of service. And that was the final straw, and we said no.
Now, this is obviously the first step to dictatorship. Once you start telling the media and social media what they can and cannot publish, you are directing people to think a certain way. Elon Musk has now said they're not going to adhere by these court directives and they are going to do what they want and face the consequences later, and good on him. But we shouldn't think that this couldn't happen anywhere else. Now, sure, Brazil might be acting like a tin pot, despot little country at the moment, but as we talked about last night, we've talked about many times before, we have our own misinformation, disinformation bill coming up here. We have our e-safety commissioner that we know is trying to restrict the content that people can read online, has already gone to Twitter and asked for posts to be taken down because they're supposedly offensive to the transgender community. On and on it goes. This might be a more extreme example, but it's the other side of the same coin, essentially.
And it's the same arguments being made in Brazil as being made here, isn't it, Liz? That there's misinformation, disinformation. To protect democracy, they've got to clamp down on social media. So it's all the same arguments that are being made right around the Western world.